Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are the apostles and elders of Yasharallah. Peace and salutations to the Bayath Dawadah, the house of David, the Hofer elect. And the name of this video is going to be called The Fourth Industrial Revolution is Here. Now, what I'm going to do in this video, this is off of a book called Chacham Ayash. And I'm going to do a commentary on what's being about to be played. Okay? And to all you false prophets out there, you're going to be judged, okay, for not warning the Israelites, so-called Black Spanish Americans, of one of the most important prophecies that a prophet is supposed to prophesy to the people, which is Revelation, the 13th chapter, the 15th verse, all the way down, talking about the MOTB. Now, the MOTB is going to be a digital system, RFID chip. The beast system, the image of the beast, is going to be a digital system, the fourth industrial revolution that I'm about to play to you right now. Okay? These things is happening right before our eyes, and this is how we know that our redemption draweth nigh. So I'm gonna let this video play, and I'm gonna do commentary to it. So I'm me stopping and making some, going in scriptures, and putting in some putting in the spiritual side to it, and showing you how everything he's saying is in the scriptures. Okay? And that the apostles and elders have been saying this before anybody else has been saying this, man. All right?
The mark is here. Iran is set to be the first country to roll out a biometric digital ID needed in order to buy food. Needed in order to eat. Right? Needed in order to survive. You must go get your digital ID from the government. The same digital ID that central banks are telling us is needed in order to roll out the...
And there's a famine going on here in America, okay? But it's going to be on a different type of level. What's going on is hyperinflation. But when it hits, when the famine really hits America, when famine really hits America, Babylon, all right, it's going to be in a scale beyond any of you so-called Black Spanish and Native Americans imagination. Okay, it's going to be of a biblical proportion, this famine that's going to come to America, and really is hitting the whole world, because by the elites, which is Esau, Edom, the bankers, the top elites, they're the ones causing these things. They're the ones that's infrastructuring these things. But ultimately, it's Yahweh Bashem Yahushai.
Central bank digital currencies. The same digital ID that the World Economic Forum establishes is at the very crux of this fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, all of that. Now you need to go get your ID in order to eat. Now there's some interesting details about the way Iran is implementing this that I want to walk through today, because I think this is a bellwether for how it's going to be rolled out around the rest of the world. And make no mistake, this is food rationing based on your digital ID. So read down here. You're able to buy as much bread as you want, but if you want to get the subsidized prices, then you're going to need the ID. Then you'll have access to, quote, a limited amount of bread at subsidized prices. And you can keep buying the rest at market.
Which is basically total control. Okay? And that's ultimately what they want. They want to have total control. They want to dish out what they feel is right for the public. Okay? And that's to have you getting the bare minimum of everything. Okay? This is the devil and the demons and the wicked that we're dealing with. Okay? That you get bare minimum of everything and work like a slave and servant and serf. Okay? All right? Until you can't walk no more.
Rates if you want, right? You can buy as much bread for $1 million a loaf as you want. But for the 50% of Iran that lives below the poverty line, that's not an option, right? Their only option is to go get in line and accept this mark, this digital biometric ID to which all resources are being tied. Not just bread, but according here, the scheme will later include all goods such as chicken, cheese, vegetable oil, and so on and so forth. So this is a pretty big deal. Let's talk about it. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer broadcast. And there's a lot to this story, from the fact that they cut off the internet for regular users, to the fact that there have been already fatal food riots and protests. So let's break it down. Here from Reuters, soaring bread prices spark protests and shop fires in Iran. May 13th, soaring bread prices have triggered protests in which some shops were set on fire, encouraging 22 arrests. The protests were triggered by a cut in subsidies for wheat that caused...
And what does that remind you of? What scriptures come to mind? 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, where it talks about that there should be sedition among men. Okay?
Price hikes as high as 300% for flour-based staples. The inflation rate in Iran is already 40 to 50%, depending on who's counting, and half of 82 million people there are already living below the poverty line. So digging in further, the cut on bread subsidies is something that the Iranian government says we have to do it. We can't just keep subsidizing all bread forever. So what we're going to do now is just subsidize a little bit of bread for everyone that has this ID. Quote, the government will offer citizens digital coupons. That's the way they dress it up. Digital-friendly coupons with a smiley face on it that will allow them to access a limited amount of bread at subsidized prices. The rest will be available at market rates, right? You can buy as much as you want as long as you pay exorbitant prices for it. As long as you're a millionaire, you can do whatever you want. This scheme will be enforced within 2 months. The scheme will later be expanded to include other goods like chicken, cheese, and vegetable oil, according to officials. Raisi extolled the benefits of reforming these subsidy scheme, finally covering everything from oil to bread. Many cash-strapped Iranians already rely on this. So what better vector to force you to get your digital ID than with food? The price of wheat on the global market has jumped since the start of the Russian conflict with Ukraine, adding to the cost of subsidies. Of course,
and that's what's going to happen. A great famine is coming to this place, man. And through that famine, through that great tribulation, all right, they're going to implement that MOTB. You see? Let me go to, let me get it real quick. First of all, let me start with this. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 10. It says, because thou hast kept, this is the word of Yahushua. First and foremost, the name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. Yah means he, Hawa means to be, is, or exists. All right, he to be, he is, or he exists. The name of his only begotten Son is Yahushua. Yah means he, Yahushua means deliverer, salvation, or savior. He is the deliverer, he is salvation, he is the savior. And it says, this is Revelation chapter 3, verse 10, Lord Yahushua, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. And patience is talking about this truth, doing this work, enduring until the end. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, and this is what's come upon the world. Now, how are they going to bring about this hour of temptation? Through famine. This is ultimately the Lord doing this, because temptation goes into test, trial. See? Which shall come upon all the world. See, this is happening in Iran, but this is really happening around all the world. And when it comes to America, okay, 2/3 of our people are gonna fold to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take that crown. All right, this is exactly what's getting ready to happen. This is 2nd Ezra. All right, chapter 16. And 68, it says, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. Okay, and that's talking about that MOTB and that venom. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and reproach and trodden underfoot. You see? And that goes right into the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 15. And it says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." And that's what they're gonna do when they implement this digital system, the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, if you're not part of the system, if you're not down with the system, if you're not gonna take part in it, they're gonna do away with you. You see, and everything, total control. Everything is gonna have to be in a system. They want total control of your food, total control of your job, total control of your living, total control of your medical, total control of everything. They want to know what you eat, how you eat, when you work, when you sleep. They want to be like the Most High.
Of course, that's getting even worse this week as India announces they're going to completely ban all exports of wheat. Putting that aside, this has sent wheat up back again to a fresh high, a multi-decadal record price. And so that's not going to help Iran. It's just going to further more of these kinds of conversations and digital rationing of food. So here, Iran has enforced internet shutdowns across the country as citizens are protesting. It's a tiered disconnection, meaning we're going to take down individuals, but if you're a business or a bank or a government, then your internet will continue to work just fine. Don't worry about a thing. In 2 months, citizens will be given digital coupons that will give access to a small number of subsidized bread purchases. Now, you can call it digital coupon.
I've had solar panels on my roof for 4 years now, and I couldn't be happier. My neighbors pay an average of
all you want. What this describes is limiting people to a small number of bread purchases at affordable prices. Right? It's very clear. They can language it however they want, and their corporate government stakeholder nonsense speak. The bottom line is people aren't going to eat unless they go to the government and get these digital biometric cards. It's planning to expand to cover other foods too. Many of Iran's poor can no longer even afford meat or other foods and have all turned to this subsidized bread just to be able to feed themselves and their families. So this is not an opt-in system, right? It might be dressed up that way, it might be presented that way, but this is telling the people of that country who depend on these bread subsidies that now they need to go sign up for the mark. Let's talk more about this. This is the biometric digital ID that Iran rolled out just last year, actually. It uses a combination of the police database of the national IDs that they already have with a new app that you do like a 10, 15 second multi-dimensional selfie to get your biometric data inputted, and then they go and match it up with your ID, and then you're good to go. Then you're good to go use your mark to go buy bread from the state. Users' digital ID is stored on your Android or iOS device. Yeah, Google and Apple, right there, custodians of the mark. Now, let's step back and bear in mind that this is exactly what the Rockefeller Foundation described in their Resetting the Table report, how we're going to transform the food systems as true cost accounting.
Which is what Klaus Schwab said, the Great Reset or Global Reset. Okay, which is ultimately bringing a new world order, which is really bringing in what the fourth industrial revolution, which he said as well, which is really bringing in the MOTB. Okay, because they know they have but a short time.
It is the wet dream of technocrats to just be able to assign arbitrary values instead of letting the market figure things out to achieve.
So if you're a prophet, this is what you're going to be warning, okay, our people. This is what you're going to be warning the people about, specifically the Israelites, the so-called black expansive Americans, warning them of the MOTB, warning them of one of the major prophecies in the scriptures. Revelation, the 13th chapter, the 15th verse, all the way down.
Goals they want. They actually put that quite bluntly. To realize these changes, this transformation of the U.S. food system, we need to do some things, including true cost accounting, considering not just real costs of production and distribution, but extended and indirect costs, like, for example, the carbon impact, the cow farts. An example of that, like I said, is the carbon taxes on sheep or on any animals. Here it is in Canada, impacting hog farmers. Now, of course, any farmers are impacted by this. Here's an example here of how hog prices have been going up directly attributable to that carbon tax. And here it is broken down by animal. So when you see meat prices rising, yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that, but some of them are as simple as the government arbitrarily imposing true cost accounting because they don't want you to eat meat. That's the bottom line here. And it's working. As those prices rise and people can't afford food, then they'll be forced onto these handouts from the government, which are, of course, effectively...
And, of course, they're blaming everything on climate control, which is going back into the Agenda 2030. All right? But we know that's all BS.
Another thing that the Rockefeller Foundation called for, universal basic income, only disguised as food. Right? They call it nutritional security because food is a human right. You can see now a lot of the agenda that's described by the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution is being wrapped up in assistance to hungry people, because that's how they're ramming this agenda through. And so now you've seen the whole thing, right? We've talked about it for years, but now you've seen we're going to cause a tremendous run-up in food prices. When people can't afford to eat, we will offer them food tied to the exact system of slavery that we've been wanting to roll out. This is a classic...
Exactly. So that's what's going to happen during Jacob's trouble. Okay, that's exactly what's going to happen, and that's talked about in the scriptures. All right, let's get it. This is let me get a second Esdras. I was gonna start with Jeremiah. See, let me go with Jeremiah, because it's gonna be a second Esdras for a minute. This is Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 5. It says, "For thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace." And this is what the prophets, starting with the apostles and those great Milton, have been saying to you so-called blood-spending Americans. This is a voice of trembling. This is great mourning, sorrow, and woe. And this is why we're telling you to come back to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai while you can. Take hold of him while you still have a chance, while you can still call upon him. While the grace period is still there, while you still have the freedom and liberty to call upon the Lord, okay, without trouble. You see? It says, "For thus saith the Lord power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace." You got all these false prophets talking about there's not gonna be Jacob's trouble. We're just gonna get beamed up. Okay, the missile's gonna hit America. We're just gonna get beamed up. All right. The MOTB is just a spiritual cut. They're not letting you know that Jacob's trouble is about to pop off. This is being implemented right now. They're causing a famine and hyperinflation, chaos, Hegelian dialectic, pressure from above, pressure from below, right now. Order of eye of chaos is going to come out of all of that right now. It says, "Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child." Why would a man travail with child? A man can't be pregnant. Well, we're living in such wicked times. This is worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. This is why the Lord is also called Babylon. It's America's spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah. This is why this place is going to get worse judgment than Sodom and Gomorrah, because you can do that now. The wickedness. Okay, but what is that talking about? Famine. "Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness." Why? Because you can't eat. Because it's going to be great famine of biblical proportions. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. They're going to force people to come. They're going to make you come to them to get that to get that MOTB. They're not going to just throw it out there. They're going to cause you to come get it. At last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And that's talking about the elect. What type of trouble? It's going to be all hell breaking loose. When people cannot eat, they are going to act like brute beasts. Everybody, every man for themselves. These Edomites are going to come after you Jakes, you so-called black Spanish Americans. Why? Because their country is finito. And who else? And what's the last thing that these six-pack Billy Joe, okay, Edomites gonna do when they know they lost it all? They're gonna resort to that sword, that blessing that they was given. And who do you think they're gonna take it out? They're gonna take it out on the government, and they're gonna take it out on you niggas, spicks, and tontos. And we'll tell you to come back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, warning you of these things to come, because it's a trap. Because yeah, this famine is coming, but there's gonna be a way out. And that way out, okay, is two ways. All right, either coming back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, or two, or you go to the government, you go to Esau, Edom, all right, and you take that MOTB, but you're gonna be had in derision. All right, go back and finish the video.
It's like a problem, reaction, solution, Hegelian dialectic played out using the most potent form of controlling people. As Henry Kissinger said, if you control food, you control people, and that's exactly what they're doing here. I think we're going to keep this as a short video just because this is such a potent thing, but let me also just quickly add that this is already being specced out and implemented around the rest of the world, although it hasn't been announced yet. That's the only difference, is Iran is already there telling their people to go get in line for a digital ID with your 15 seconds multi-dimensional selfie to get your bread, whereas the rest of the world is all putting the systems in place and waiting until people get pissed off enough to tell them to go do it. For example, just as Iran will have now perfect data of who is buying what and where and when, right? They're going to know exactly who's buying bread and for whom at all times, because it's all going to be tied to these digital IDs. The government in the US is also working on something like that. They've already implemented an AI weapons system that is ingesting all retail transactions from grocers around the nation. This was done in early 2020, as you can read here from Defense One magazine, in order to monitor the supply chain for weaknesses. But in reality, the bottom line is they're aggregating all grocery transactions down to the retail level, tied to your little shopper ID thing, right? In order to keep track of where food is going. This is the easiest, most succinct way to say this, is echoing the goals of Agenda 2030, which was perfect awareness of all resources and economic activity on the planet. That's what's being implemented here. That's what's happening, right? Doesn't talk about vaccines or food shortage. No, that's all just nonsense to get this agenda through. And they will engineer any other number of crises and grid down situations, the cyber pandemic, right? We've heard them float all of their predictive programming already. And so we know what arrows they have in their quiver. But to understand what we'll be experiencing over the next few years, the most important part is that is their goal, is to get everyone tracked and traced and tied in. That's why we have satellites in the sky watching us called climate tracing. That's why we have biobots in our sewers sampling the wastewater to know what we're eating. They've announced these things. They said it wasn't just for pandemic detection, it was for monitoring diets. Okay? We are being tracked and traced and labeled and given digital IDs and food rationing from all sides right now. And this latest step from Iran, I think, is very illustrative, but it is still just one link in the chain that seeks to enslave us all. So please help me get the word out about this, and more importantly, start growing word so that you are not forced into this line to go get your biometric ID so that you can feed your family. That's the only way forward, folks. New food systems must be stood up now. Decentralized food systems and communities working in them and defending them against the powers that seek to enslave humanity. Let's leave it there for now. Thanks for watching, folks. You can find this report and all my reports on iceagefarmer.com. If you appreciate this broadcast...
And that's what the MOTB ultimately is to enslave you. And this is why the Lord doesn't want you to take it. This is the book of Revelation. Okay, chapter 13, verse 15, and it reads, it says, and he had power, that he, who's the he? Well, he just said the powers that be. Who's the powers that be? That's talking about the elites, the bankers, Esau, Edom. Hold on for a second. Yeah, Salakia. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. Again, that who's that he? That he is talking about the elites, Esau, Edom, the bankers. All right? And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast is talking about the fourth industrial revolution. All right, which they're about to bring about. The Great Reset. Agenda 2030. That the image of the beast will both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he calls it all. And that's what's getting ready to happen. 2nd Ezra 16. All right? Second Ezra 15, 2nd Ezra 16. All that is coming into pass. 2nd Ezra 15, okay, and 2nd Ezra 16 are basically basically intertwining it. It's like so step by step. 2nd Ezra 15 and then 2nd Ezra 16. 15 is gonna happen, then 2nd Ezra 16 is gonna happen. You see? All right. It says, and that no man. Let me go to 16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, okay, which is the RFID chip, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603 * 6. Now let me show you 2nd Ezra 15 and 2nd Ezra 16 how that's gonna come into play. All right. First, 2nd Ezra 15, right? 15. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Okay, because why? Because they're gonna cause chaos. All right, but ultimately we know the Lord. But this is what's happening towards the world. Okay, hyperinflation and everything, especially food. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Why? Because they're getting ready to bring in that great reset. And one people shall stand up to fight against another with swords in their hands. The people are going to stand. You heard what's going on in Iran. That's going to happen. That's really happening all around the world. People are coming against the government. People are fighting one another. For there should be sedition among men. What does sedition mean? Sedition means to uprise against the government. For there should be sedition among men, and invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor princes, your governors, your presidents, okay, your mayors, all right, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go in the city and shall not be able. Why? Because they're going to bring in their military. The UN will be here soon. This is the 20th. Okay, they're already here. Excuse me. A man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation, Jacob's trouble. You see, 2nd Ezra 16, 68, 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? What that great tribulation, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall we do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation, anguish, ascent of scourges for amendment. Let's go down, right? All victuals is cheap right now. It says, but all those things, they should not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of their scourges. Behold, victuals shall be good so cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in a good case. That's happening right now. And evil then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, great confusion. And you go down to it, right? Jacob's trouble, all hell breaking loose. This is 2nd Ezra 16:68. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. They're going to have the military come in, bringing about their new world order, bringing about their great reset. They're going to have certain stations, all right, as all hell breaking loose. So if but people need to eat and everything else, they go they can go to those stations, and those that don't want to take part in the system, that don't want to be part of this great reset, they'll be coming after you. It says, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. And they that consent unto them shall be had in division and reproach and trod under foot. See, and that's talking about getting down with the great reset, the MOTB. For there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. You see, they're going to come after those that don't want to be part of that great reset, those that don't want to take that MOTB. And they should be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. This is all going to happen during Jacob's trouble. This is why it says it's going to be a time that has never been seen before. It says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. That's why it says on Proverbs 18:10, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. You see, Psalms 91. Be not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord power. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. And that's what's going to happen. The elect is going to be tried as gold in that fire and going to be refined, and 2/3 are going to be that stubble. We're going to take part in rely on Esau, Edom. All right, and go through all types of horrible calamities, man. Okay, for judgment. Okay, so it behooves of you so-called black Spanish Americans, which you are the Israelites. Okay, the ones that's taking heed to the apostles and those a great millstone, and believe in the words that they're saying, which is Jacob's troubles about to pop off. Okay, to take hold to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua while you still can. All right, and to not take the RFID chip, which is the MOTB. All right, so with that, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem V'Chakodash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are the apostles and elders of Yasharallah. Peace and salutations to the Bayaf Dawadah, the house of David, the hope for elect. So till next time, Shalom.